Welcome to Parenting Tips with Dr. Glow on the WDKX Podcast Network, where the conversation never stops. I'm reminding you that education is in my DNA. Michael Baisden is a New York Times bestseller with millions of books in print. And last year, he wrote an article that really stood out to me, and I want to talk about it today. In the tradition of the African American culture, I remember growing up on things like Easter speeches, Mother Mother's Day speeches, Father's Day speeches, and there was even what was called in the month of June, and I'm recording this in June 2026, the month of June, Children's Day. And Children's Day, we had speeches, believe it or not. And one of the things that I realized is that that's kind of been removed from the African American churches. And I'm here to say, let's bring it back. But the reason I'm sharing about Michael's article is that he wrote about parents and their relationships with their children, right? And one of the things he said is sometimes our children feel entitled. And the reason I talked about the speeches is because I remember speeches that we had to memorize. We didn't read something, we memorized it and we practiced it for weeks and weeks. And many of what the words said were reflective of our appreciation for our parents as children and our relationship with our parents. So, with the Children's Day, those were the speeches. Where Mother's Day, it was the love to mom, or Father's Day, it was the love to father. So, as parents, we know we do things and we don't do speeches, right? But our children see us doing for them. And sometimes we can work ourselves to a point of maybe illness or death for the sake of our children. And Michael talks about the fact that we may struggle, and yes, we may do less for ourselves and more for them. But even as we want to make their lives better than the ones we had, we have to make sure that our children don't have a sense of entitlement. In other words, that they are ungrateful for what you're doing for them. Phew, that's a hard one to have that balance between, well, is it a need or is it a want? Is it something that can wait until later? I don't have a money tree in the backyard, and I definitely don't have the rich uncle that I can call upon. But we as parents want our children to feel safe, but we also want them to understand that whatever we do for them, it may be special. They may consider it a luxury. And yeah, we do not want them to have too much debt, especially if they're going to college. But do we really need the 50-inch or the 42-inch or the major flat screen TV for their room? I don't think so. Do we need the top level computers? I don't think so. How about the latest cell phone? Nah, I don't think so. And definitely, we limit what does go into their bedroom because we can't monitor that as well as what would be in the living room. So, how many of us have shared a bedroom even with another sibling? I know I did. And many of our children have their own bedrooms, and they feel that's what their right is and that's what they're entitled to. But understand, we can be at fault for some things, but we want to be at fault for doing the best thing, the right thing for our children. We want to instill the value of enjoying life's comforts. I do remember one of my daughters was in a college course, I think it was psychology or sociology, and the teacher had everyone to stand up. And having everyone to stand up, he or she rattled off a few phrases. If you've ever had your electricity turned off, sit down. People sat down. If you've ever had the, I had to go back to this. If you've ever had to go without something because your mom or your dad was laid off or was unemployed, sit down. Some people sat down. If you've ever been evicted from your home, sit down. People sat down. If you've ever experienced hunger where you did not eat for a full day or more, sit down. There were two or three more things that the professor shared, and my daughter was still standing. So the professor was sharing negative experiences that people have in life. And at the time, she was in her early 20s. And she was like, Mom, no, her late teens, sorry about that. She was like, Mom, the professor said I was privileged. And I said, he's right. You are. You're privileged because you did not experience any of those things. And it gave her a window as she looked around at her classmates into the life that others had, but she had never experienced. So it's somber, but the job that we have to balance things for our children and what we do is a difficult one, but we have to be mindful about it. We have to be intentional about it. And it is a shock to see the calamity, the distresses, and the different situations going on in the lives of others around us, whether family, friends, coworkers, and neighbors. But understand that our children are going to experience all kinds of things. We do our best, but we can't make the mistake of having them be ungrateful. It's hard to have a smile on your face when difficult things are happening. There are times when all things are not well, and I know for myself with experiencing 3 in college at one time, 2 at the same time. Life is not the best, but we make do with what we can, and as a result, we appreciate what we have. We value what we have, and we do not take it for granted. Children are a part of our lives and will always be, whether they're our children we birth, our nieces, our nephews, our grandchildren, whomever. Mom and dad, we want them to appreciate what they have and to be grateful for what they have and not try to get what others have for free. In other words, not steal because you don't have. You work, you do what you need to do legally to get what you need to get. And I got to say the word legally again. I am very, very disappointed in what has happened with the theft of vehicles, the theft of people invading homes, and even injuring others for the sake of a pair of shoes or jewelry or whatever the case may be. Yeah, our children sometimes are ungrateful. Sometimes they're hard-headed. And that happens beyond teenage years, maybe into their 20s or 30s. But the end of our success as parents, and I'll repeat that, the end of our success as parents depends on how well they bounce back when things may come to knock them down. Maybe then they will get the understanding, and I think they will, of experiences that happen in their lives won't always be there forever, and they have to be able to persevere. So let's sit back. Let's do what we want to do, and let's show them by our own example the value of resilience, but also the value of appreciating what we have, and hopefully they will appreciate what they have. So, one of the things that Michael Baisden says in his article is sometimes as parents we have to sit back and watch our children develop and evolve. And he closes by saying, okay, as you sit back, join me and pass the popcorn and the M&Ms and let's watch and see where this story ends. We want success for our children, and we will watch and see that the story ends on a good note. You have been listening to Parenting Tips with Dr. Glow on the WDKX Podcast Network, where the conversation never ends. Question: what is it that you can do today to shift the mindset of an ungrateful child